Hello there. So glad you could join us this evening. Welcome to Mr. Diablo's Bedtime Stories. Our first story tonight is about a young girl who lived not too far from here who met a very unfortunate, untimely end. Her name was Nancy Hernandez, and that's the name of our first story, Nancy Hernandez and the Black Widows. Well, it all started about 7 years ago. There was a young girl who went to a school not too far from here. Her name was Nancy Hernandez. Mr. Head! Get back! Come back! Where was I? Yes, Nancy was a little schoolgirl, straight-A student. Used to walk around with a little green vest on. She was all the teachers' favorite. Well, one day Nancy was walking out by the PE field when she saw a group of girls smoking cigarettes behind the PE lockers. They were part of a gang called the Black Widows. Each one of them used to have a tattoo right here on their shoulder with a Black Widow spider. And above the tattoo was their nickname. One called herself Ratita, one called herself Roach, one called herself Pollita, little chicken. Easy, Mr. Head. Good help is hard to find these days. Well, all of them were standing back there smoking cigarettes, and Nancy Hernandez saw them. She took out her little trademark hall monitor whistle, and she started blowing it. Tweet, tweet, tweet! Well, the security of the school came running around, and they said, what's the problem? She said, these girls are smoking cigarettes back here. Well, they took the Black Widows, and they started hauling them away. Well, the leader of the gang was a girl named Shorty. Shorty turned to little Nancy Hernandez, and she said, little schoolgirl, next time I see you, it's on. Well, when those girls got home, the Black Widows, they all started talking among themselves. And they all agreed the next day they would sneak into school and get their revenge. Well, the next day, Nancy was sitting in the girls' PE locker, and she was tying her shoelaces when all of a sudden she looked up, and she saw she was surrounded by those girls, the Black Widows. They had hopped the fence and snuck into the PE area. Well, she tried to reach for her whistle. When she grabbed it, they slapped it out of her hands. And they grabbed her, and she said, oh, what are you going to do? They said, shut up, little girl. We got plans for you. They picked her up, they took her over to a rusty locker, and they opened it up. They said, stick your hand in there, little girl. She said, why? They said, shut up and do it, you stupid little girl. She said, oh, okay. She reached up with her hand, and Nancy stuck her hand in the locker. Bam! They slammed the door right on her arm. And while her hand was stuck in the locker, Shorty jumped on top of a bench, and she jumped off and came down on her arm, and she broke Nancy's arm. When the little girl started screaming, oh, yeah, my arm is broken. Oh, my God. Are you crazy? You broke my arm. Well, they grabbed her, and Shorty said, shut up, little girl. You'll wake the dead. Just like Mr. Head. And she said, shut up, shut up. And Nancy wouldn't shut up. She kept screaming about calling the police, and they said, shut up. And they threw her on the ground. Well, Nancy's head went back and went bam and hit the concrete. Her eyes rolled back in her head. She shook for a sec. She stopped moving. When they reached down, they felt her pulse. That little girl was dead. Well, they said, what are we going to do now? They said, nothing, run! Well, they all ran out of the girls' locker room. They ran to the fence. They hopped over the fence. They ran a block away. They all stopped and caught their breath. They went, whew! They said, what are we going to do, Shorty? And the leader of the gang said, we ain't going to do nothing. Just tell them stories. Hey, we were all suspended, right? We got the perfect alibi. Just tell them that you were at home watching Oprah or Jerry Springer. They'll never know. And that's what they did. They all went home, and when the police came by, all those girls stuck to the same story. They all said they were at home watching Jerry Springer. Well, the police had no evidence, so they let them go. Well, about 2 weeks later, those girls all were back in school, and two of them, the one who called herself Shorty and the one who called herself Ratita, were sitting in a class over there in that same school. Well, they were sitting there working on their schoolwork when Ratita reached in her bag to get a pencil. And when she reached in, she went, ah! Oh my God! And Shorty said, what's your problem, little girl? She said, look what I found in my bag. And she took out a green vest, just like the kind that Nancy used to have. She said, did you put that in my bag to freak me out? She said, no, I don't know where that came from. Well, Ratita was so freaked out, she threw the vest down. She grabbed her bag and she ran out of class. Well, she started walking down past some buildings in the school, when all of a sudden she heard footsteps coming behind her. She turned around, but there was nobody there. She started walking some more, and all of a sudden she heard a rusty locker going, She went, she didn't look. She ran as fast as she could to the girls' bathroom, and she slammed the door. She put her ear to the door and she listened. On the other side of the door, she could hear a voice, and the voice said, hey, Ratita, why'd you do me like that? And she said, is that you, Nancy? It can't be you. You're dead. She looked around, and up on the wall, she saw there was an air vent. She climbed up into the air vent. She opened it up, and She wiggled inside with her arms at her side. She figured she'd wiggle through the air vent and come down the other side and escape. She started wiggling up the air vent. All of a sudden, she got stuck. She couldn't move, poor little thing. And while she was sitting there stuck in the air vent, she heard a voice behind her saying, "Hey, ratita, you shouldn't have done me like that, loca." She said, "Nancy, you dead, you can't be haunting me." When all of a sudden, she looked up in the air shaft, and ahead of her in the air shaft, she saw something black moving around. Well, it crawled into the light. You know what it was? That's right. It was a big fat rat, about that big. Well, the rat went up to Ratita. It sniffed her with its little rat nose and went right up to her nose and went, and it pulled out a big chunk of her nose, and blood shot out of her nose, and Ratita started screaming, "Oh, my nose, oh God." And then the rat went up to her eye and went, and tore out her eye, and then tore out her other eye, and it kept biting her face, so all the flesh was gone. And that's where they found her, with all the flesh chewed off her face, dead. Well, after that, there was 5 Black Widows left. Well, the next day, 2 of them, the one who called herself Tattletale and the one who called herself Face, they called her Face because she used to put on makeup all the time, was sitting over in one of the other classrooms. Well, Face reached in her bag to get out her lipstick. She went, "Oh my God!" And Tattletale said, What is it? What is it? Why are you freaking out?" She said, "Look." She pulled up out of her bag. It was that same green vest again, the one that had belonged to Nancy Hernandez. Well, as soon as Face saw it, she said, "Did you put this in my bag, Tattletale, to freak me out?" And Tattletale said, "No, I didn't. Of course not. Why would I do that? Don't you think I'm a freak? I didn't do nothing." She said, "I'm out of here." She threw the green vest down. She got her bag and she ran out of the classroom. Well, there was a woodshop class nearby, and Face had gotten a key from a substitute teacher she had stolen. Well, she went into that class, she opened the door and hid inside. While she was hiding there by the woodshop equipment, all of a sudden she thought she heard footsteps coming from somewhere across the room. She looked, there was nobody there. She was waiting there, she called out, she said, "Hello, is somebody there?" And all of a sudden she heard that sound of a rusty locker going, She said, she ran upstairs to the top level of the woodshop, and she looked out the window, hoping to see one of her friends. She was looking out there. She didn't see anybody. She turned around. She screamed, because standing right behind her, she thought she saw the ghost of Nancy standing behind her with a little bit of blood trickling down her forehead. Well, for a second, she saw the vision of the ghost, and she fell on the ground. When she opened her eyes, the vision was gone. She tried to stand up, but she was stuck. She had fallen on a board covered with wood glue, and all of a sudden, the glue had hardened, and she was stuck to the board. And there she was laying there helpless, and all of a sudden, she heard the voice in her head, and the voice said, "Hey, Face, why'd you do me like that?" And she said, "Nancy, that can't be you." And all of a sudden, she felt a prick on her forehead. She felt something go across her forehead. And all of a sudden, she felt something trickle down into her mouth. She tasted it. Do you know what it was? That's right. It was blood. Somebody had cut the skin across Face's forehead. And then she felt 2 ice-cold fingers grab that flap of skin, and she heard a voice say, "Uno, dos, tres, say goodbye to your little face." And a hand pulled her face down. That's where they found it, pulled down by her chin. All the flesh pulled down, and just the muscles and the blood squirting out, glued to the board. Well, after that, there was 4 left, Mr. Head, just 4.